Under the category of why government employees can't have nice things, the news broke last week of a crazy, straight out of TV story about two individuals with possible ties to Pakistani intelligence and a Washington, D.C. metro luxury apartment complex where these two folks were running some sort of criminal or spy ring. We're not sure all of the details yet, but centered around a lot of heavy gifting to government employees. So hi, this is Lindy Kaiser with clearancejobs.com. One of the things we've written about and covered before at Clearance Jobs is federal gifting rules. This is near and dear to my heart because as a government employee, I sort of didn't wonder why I couldn't even gift other coworkers things, and gifting is one of my love languages, and so I love to give gifts. Once I entered federal service, I realized there were whole categories of rules about what gifts you could and couldn't give. It sort of makes sense when you read about the story that broke out of Washington, D.C. last week. Again, check it out over at clearancejobs.com. You will want to read the whole sordid tale. Christopher Burgess unpacks the criminal reports that have been released so far, and it's a lot of nuance, a lot of detail, a lot of crazy unpacked in that article and in the things that are coming out of that investigation. But again, it centers around two individuals who claimed to be DHS, Department of Homeland Security officials. And as a part of that official role, they had several penthouse, very elaborate luxury apartment buildings, were gifting space in those apartment buildings to other DHS employees. Secret Service agents specifically were listed in the criminal complaints. And also gifting things like guns, gifting use of a government vehicle to a Secret Service agent's spouse. All of these things should have set off many red flags, and this is the reason why the government keeps tracks of gifts, and as a federal government employee, you're actually only allowed to accept gifts from outside agencies that total no more than $20 and no more than $50 from an individual group or organization. It's painful as you're going through the process and realize you have to kind of nickel and dime what you're receiving or obtaining from other parties if you work for the federal government. When you see things like this, you just it is a painful look at why those gifting rules apply, but also how even if you're a part of the federal government, you can kind of, I guess, check out and not pay attention to them. So even if supposedly these two folks were federal agents, gifting even within the government is not heavily accepted. You don't see, supervisors giving their employees elaborate gifts. If things like free apartment rent or guns are procured, trust me, you will have to go through a lengthy and elaborate paperwork process. It will not be a gift. They will not be allowing your spouse use of a government vehicle. So more red flags than you can shake a stick at, things to be aware of, but this is why federal gifting rules exist. So again, if you work for the federal government, there are rules about what you can accept. If you're a contractor, there are rules about what you can accept from a government employee. That's also sometimes confusing. Hey, why can't I take a ride? It's because there is a pay for service aspect to the relationship between a contractor and a government employee. Nobody wants to be accepting something that could be considered within or outside of the bounds of what their contracts require. So this is why federal gifting rules exist. I'm sorry, federal employees, if you'll have to go through even more arduous scrutiny about what you receive. Again, in this case, it shows how even with those gifting rules, proper training is key. If you have employees, I don't know what the career level of these Secret Service agents were. Whatever their level, they should have certainly known better. Again, we'll get more details. But it also shows with the right hubris and chutzpah, you can put together a pretty elaborate scheme. And again, these guys, that apartment complex, had basically kind of taken over floors of the apartment complex and claimed to be individuals who they did not, in fact, turn out to be. Red flags appeared at different points and somehow always slipped through the cracks. And hats off to the U.S. Postal Service, in fact, who actually uncovered this story. So again, for more on federal gifting rules and more on this crazy, hope they make a TV movie out of it about this case, visit us over at clearancejobs.com.